Hello, and welcome to Walking and Talking with Mrs. Smith. Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for continuing to support my videos. But if you're new here, then thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Mrs. Smith and I'm a Christian, and I walk about all over the shop and talk about all sorts of weird and wonderful things from a Christian point of view. I'm just looking at these little stepping stones, obviously for kids, but they've got carvings in them which are lovely. And I've got my husband walking with me today, but he's camera shy, so he's going to stay behind me. But if I get lost, you might hear him saying it's that way. So today I'm in Brockhill Country Park, which I think you'll agree is beautiful. And we've got a nice day today without the rain, so that's good. And it's about 1.5 miles from Hythe in Kent in the UK. It's an open space. It has a lake and woods and meadows, picnic and play areas, a cafe, and apparently it sits on the former Brockhill Park estate, which I think was historically linked to Saltwood Castle. And it's thought that the old estate was a game estate to the castle during the Norman times. There's also a deer park here and a valley, which is the largest area of the park. And that has alder trees running along its centre, which sort of indicates the flow of the Brockhill stream as it runs down towards the Royal Military Canal. I actually walked along the Royal Military Canal in one of my videos in Hythe, and I'll try and link that on the screen at the end. There's a car park here, and during Monday to Friday it's £2.50 for the whole day, and on weekends and bank holidays I think it's £3.50 for the whole day. And there's also easy access pathways, as you can see, which is good. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I see unfair things happening in life, either with my friends and family around me, or in my local community, or when I watch the news. And you know, those things make me feel concerned, and I think, why is this happening? That's not fair. And sometimes I even start to become angry on behalf of whoever it is that I feel has been treated badly for whatever reason, even though I don't always know the full story, you know, because to me it seems clear what's going on. Do you feel like that sometimes? Also, I feel like sometimes every time I video, someone is doing gardening somewhere and there ends up being lots of noise. Wow, look at that. Let's go and have a look. Oh, how cute is that? Wow. I don't think it's carved from one piece of wood, but it is stunning. Now let's have a look at what's causing the noise. There we go. And a little badger down there as well. So I think my husband is pointing this way, so we're going to go this way. So now I want to tell you a short story that I heard some years ago. I couldn't find who originally wrote this, so if you've heard it before and you know who wrote it, then please do let me know in those comments. But for now, pause the video, put the kettle on, make a cuppa, maybe get a biscuit and cozy up to have a listen. And see if you can work out what's going on in this short story before I get to the end. The story goes like this. A senior angel and an angel in training who were travelling stopped and knocked on the door of a mansion as they were in need of somewhere to sleep for the night. The great big 40-bedroom mansion was owned by a really wealthy family. The wealthy family, however, were a bit mean and unwelcoming, and they refused to let the angels stay in one of the mansion's many guest rooms. Instead, the angels were given a small space in the dark, damp, and very cold basement. As the angels made their beds up on the cold, wet, hard floor, the senior angel noticed a hole in the floor, and she took a look in, and then she decided to block up the hole. When the angel in training saw this, he asked, "Why have you repaired the hole for the mean, wealthy family who are making us spend the night in this horrible, dark and damp basement?" And the senior angel replied, "You know, things aren't always what they seem." Well, neither of the angels slept very well that night, and so the next day they left the mansion and continued travelling. And that evening the angels came to a farmhouse of a very poor but very hospitable farmer and his wife, and the angels knocked on the door to see if they could rest at the farmhouse for a while. The poor farmer and his wife invited them in, and after they shared what little food they had with the angels, the couple let the angels sleep in their very own bed. Thank you, gentlemen. Where they knew they would have a really good night's rest. And the angels did indeed sleep well that night. But when the sun came up the next morning, the angels found the farmer and his wife in tears because their only cow, whose milk had been their sole income, lay dead in the field. The angel in training was really angry that this had happened, and he asked the senior angel how she could have let it happen, knowing how poor the farmer and his wife were. The angel in training said, "What's going on? The first family had everything and were mean to us, yet you helped them. But this poor farmer and his wife have hardly anything, but they were willing to share all they had with us. But you let their cow die." The senior angel replied, "You know, things aren't always what they seem." Now, before I finish the end of this short story, can you work out what was going on? If you want to take a few minutes to think about it, just pause the video. Wow, look at that. If not, then I'll finish the story now. The senior angel replied, "You know, things aren't always what they seem. When we stayed in the basement of the mansion, I saw that there was treasure stored deep down in that hole in the floor. And since the family there was so obsessed with greed, and since they were unwilling to share what they had, I sealed the hole up so they wouldn't find the treasure. Then last night, as we slept in the farmer's bed, the angel of death came for the farmer's wife, but I gave him the cow in exchange for the life of the farmer's wife. You see, things aren't always what they seem." So did you guess right? To be honest, there are a few reasons why the senior angel might have done those things, so if you made really clever guesses, then you still win. But why am I telling you this story? Well, the other day I was thinking about Satan. Okay, and how do these two things link up? Well, from my understanding, Satan was formerly a good angel, and possibly quite high up in the angel ranks too. But he wasn't happy with his position, and he wanted to be greater than God. So eventually, he rallied an army of angels into a kind of rebellion against God, which resulted in him being ejected from heaven, along with every angel who had followed him. And now Christians believe that Satan tries to stop anyone he can from choosing to believe in God. In the Bible, it says that Satan acts as the accuser of believers in God in an attempt to question their faith, I guess, and discredit them. I know this because in the book of Job, in the Message version of the Bible, in chapter 1, it says, one day when the angels came to report to God, Satan, who was the designated accuser, came along with them. So again, as far as I understand it, for the time being, Satan, the accuser, has limited access to us. Limited as in he isn't like God. He's not omnipresent. He can't be everywhere, right? So he has limitations. One example of how Satan accuses people is in the book of Job, actually, where Satan stands before God and accuses Job, claiming that Job is only faithful to God because God has blessed him so much. In other words, Satan's saying that Job's faith in God is conditional. And Satan goes on to say that if Job is put to the test, he will eventually turn away from God and give up his faith. But God is omniscient, right? He knows everything. So he knows that Job will remain loyal to him. And therefore, God allows Satan, the accuser, permission to test Job. But what has all of this Satan stuff got to do with the angel story? Well, I know that Satan accuses people wrongly on purpose, so it's slightly different to the two angels story. But Satan wrongly accusing people reminded me about times in my life that I may have judged a situation too harshly myself. And that in turn reminded me of a Bible verse in the book of James, chapter 1. It's verse 19. And it says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And that verse reminded me of the angel story. So that's how my brain works, and it does all link up. The angel in training was quick to judge the senior angel, wasn't he? You know, sometimes, I think we're going to go this way. Sometimes I know that I can shoot from the hip, like be a bit quick to judge a situation, especially when I see things aren't necessarily turning out the way that I think they should, or I see things happening that I think are unfair or unjust. It's easy, isn't it, to jump on something, even if we don't always have the full story. Plus, you know, we all have our own experiences, the things that have shaped our lives. And with that can sometimes come our own hang-ups or pet peeves, I suppose, if you like, that can really bias our view. And by jumping the gun on something, you know, we might end up harming relationships that then have to be mended. And they say that apologies are like car airbags. They're good to have ready, but it's better if you don't have to use them. So, going back to the angel story I told you earlier, it's also reminded me of a few things. Like, if I find it hard to get to sleep at night, I need to remember the homeless person who has no bed to lie in. If someone asks me for help, I need to remember that I only have what I have by the grace of God, so I ought to share it, you know. If I see something happening I think is unfair, I need to remember that I don't always have the full picture. Only God does. As the senior angel said, things are not always what they seem. You know, the way we see the world is not the only way to see it. People aren't always what they first appear to be, and we definitely shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I'm going to leave it there for today, but if you are enjoying my videos, and I really hope you enjoyed this one, then please do hit those like and subscribe buttons for me. It really helps me out. but it obviously won't cost you anything. And thank you so much again for watching one of my videos. I really do appreciate it. So God bless you all. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.